Good morning, teacher leaders. I am really excited to hear about you coming together to discuss innovation around collaboration in your PLCs. This is exactly the kind of space and the kind of hard thinking that moves students forward. We have such an opportunity to make changes in our entire system of education right now because we might be able to use the triple disruptors as a catalyst to force innovation. So we need to own the history of the education system. And yet, at the same time, we need to be proactive in abandoning some old ways of thinking. COVID and the movement for the rights of BIPOC folks and the desperate financial times that we live in have wedged some cracks through which we can see some of the raw materials of which our system is made. So we knew things like inequity and racism were under the surface, but our current situation makes those things so much more clear and easy to see and to wonder about. So maybe with this clearer vision of things that made up our antiquated systems, we can talk about repurposing good ideas that needed adjusting and just abandoning some of the poor ideas that weren't working for all kids. Your convening reminds me of a time when I got together with some teachers. This was back in March of 2016. And I got to participate in an exercise like the one that you will be part of today, thought partnering with my colleagues. The event was the International Summit on the Teaching Profession, and it was held in Berlin, where they had secretaries and ministers of education from countries across the world paired with the heads of teachers unions, of the teachers union leaders also. So the U.S. delegation was headed by Lilia Escalin Garcia and John King, and they each brought staffers and teachers with them. Well, the purpose of the ISTP was for the heads of international education systems to come to some agreements about what teacher competencies and dispositions were the most important levers for student growth. It was an incredible honor to be there. Although our teacher role at the event was like more of a supporting position, right? We got to take it all in. We tweeted about our experiences and we participated in some really incredible after hours events. But we classroom teachers who were in the trenches with our kiddos every day felt like we needed to organize. And we got together with some other teachers from across the planet on the evening before the convening was supposed to begin, sort of away from all the bigwigs, right? And I remember speaking at that time and in that space about what our profession needed. And I went on, as I'm known to do, about how we needed some way to break the system and rebuild it. Well, we had passionate conversations about how the public image of education and unfortunately the true nature of many classrooms was still molded in the outdated image of quiet kids organized into neat rows while they were note-taking, with a teacher who was a sage on the stage, and with assessments that were comprised of memorization and regurgitation of information. My colleagues, in agreement with my angst, at the same time were pressing me to come up with an example of what could possibly occur that would dramatically break the old system and give us an opportunity to rebuild in a way that we knew would better serve kids. And we talked about rebuilding a system that honored kids beyond what grades they made in math and language arts, and uplifted every child through an asset-based lens, honoring our youngest humans. We grappled with trying to imagine what kind of disruptive event could possibly precipitate the tearing down of traditional bell schedules and change the nature of 30 kids and 30 desks with one teacher in four walls, and suddenly require everyone to embrace new tools for learning. We also tried to imagine how some unknown disruptor could erode systemic racism and push the envelope on family engagement and multi-generational participation in children's education. and something that could send a message to our kids that they're worthy of higher education, a meaningful career, and full participation as citizens. We wondered how every classroom in every school and every district might have opportunities to look different than it was at that time. And here we are, right? We didn't imagine this, and yet here we are with a real chance for change. The more I hear that schools across the country are trying to get back into the doors so that they can return to normal, the more I keep screaming at the television and the news articles and the social media posts by well-meaning people that normal should not be the goal. Normal wasn't serving all kids. Normal did not sit right with so many of us. Normal is not our goal, right? So I hope in your work today that you pick up where my conversation left off in 2016 before we had any idea where we were headed. Please take this opportunity to dream big about rethinking collaboration, rethinking the school day, about recruiting and retaining the people who we want to be in front of our kids, and rewriting the messages that we've been sending into the world about who's worthy to be on a particular track and who's worthy to go to a particular school and who's worthy to be proud of who they are and what they stand for. As you kick off today, I hope that you take really good notes and revoice all of the powerful ideas that you're going to hear and that you're going to have. Take your message to the school site and to your colleagues and beyond, because now is the time that we need to hear from you. Redouble your bravery, because now is the time that we teachers should be using our 21st century tools and our teacher voices and our networks to speak truth to power and to push for new systems. I know that the phrase new normal has been used tirelessly throughout this crisis, but it is appropriate because we don't want to return to an old normal. We want to redefine tomorrow's normal. And as classroom teachers, you are positioned to open minds and to pour in the joy of learning and the responsibility of change. So with that said, in middle school, I once had a teacher named Mr. Duncombe, who always said, "Go forth and be great," whenever he handed off an assignment to us students. And it's a phrase that I've appropriated because it seems like a worthy charge. So I say to you, go forth and be great.